studio and do.
Okay, so what does this all portend? At the end of the day, when we look at the country as a whole, it looks as though there are just, underlying conversations being had, and that the health and well-being of the country is never really considered. When it talks about functioning systems, we're just talking about big personalities in politics and who wants to say what to get on the right side of the ego of the other. What does the country come in here, if ever it does?
You see, everybody wanted to be able to live a good life. People wanted to be able to buy a white dress for their daughter and a tennis ball for their son if they wanted. But we are in a country where taxation has become way too much, and the spending power of Kenyans has been gravely reduced. And so people are disillusioned, and people feel as though, you see, people had put in a lot of hopes in the elections for those who voted, and they had been told about bottom up, and they had
who voted for those who are now in power.
Yes, and they had been told that a lot of things will change, and those who are poor will become rich. And then there was something called bottom up. I think the wheelbarrow is now upside down, and so on and so forth. So it is the disillusionment right now that is coming from life having become harder as opposed to having become easier that Kenyans are facing. And then the anger now, it becomes even worse when we sit here and we are told, first, do not do ethnic balkanization. And we say it's fine.
What on earth is ethnic balkanization?
That's what they've been telling us, that you should not have Limuru 3, you should not have meetings for Kikuyus only, you should not be having discussions about a particular region.
But how is that balkanization?
When we think about it, balkanization began in government. When you come and see that it is possible for people to sit in the energy sector and speak their mother tongue and understand each other, the top management in the energy sector in this country, then that is ethnic balkanization. When you start employing people from specific regions and giving them all the plum jobs, that is ethnic balkanization. So before you tell us not to do Limuru 3, let us have a conversation about us not having one sector in this country where the top management can speak their mother tongue and understand each other in a board meeting.
Are you aware you are talking about the history of this country in that statement you just made?
That is the history Kenya has been trying to break away from.
How
so the
hard
least
has
that this
been
government
trying?
should have done is to come away from that history.
How hard have we tried? Because when Kenyatta one was in power, this you didn't even need to look far to see the balkanization. Kiambu here, it's on the corner. Okay? 7 ministers. Here. Not too far away. Moi came in. What you're saying, we saw it happening. What I'm trying to tell you is this. People who are in power, who are supposed to end what you're saying, never end it. They just talk about it. But if you break this thing down, okay, as you say correctly, you look at a minister and you see too many people of a certain community. Well, you will find that even now with a different government, that there are certain departments of government, certain parastatals where you'll find certain communities, depending on who the leadership have been, who are in large numbers. It's a situation that we have. But let me just tilt that conversation ever so slightly. You see, what you are saying holds some truth to it. But if it were the deputy president who was president and you had a ministry where there were people who spoke his language, would you be complaining?
We should be complaining. And every other Kenyan has a right to complain, even if the right people don't complain, because this is not the way to govern a country. This is not the way to lead a country. But what's most painful is not even that. It's the wastage of taxpayers' money. When we see the lavish lifestyles that some of these people are living, the kind of cars that they are buying within such a short time, the wristwatches we are seeing, the belts they are buying for hundreds and thousands of shillings. And when we see someone tell us that they took a 200 million shilling jet and then they changed on National Prayer Breakfast and tell us it was 10 million and then say it was a donation, that wastage of public resources. We are paying taxes, we are working so hard to pay taxes for people to waste those taxes. I think that cuts across the country, whether you are Kikuyu or Kisii or Masai, you're not happy to see the money that you have worked so hard to earn being spent lavishly by people who, and that's not the reason why we were paying taxes in the first place. And if you ask me, someone comes to a National Prayer Breakfast, which I think for me to start with should not have happened. And then the reason I say it should not have happened is when you read the Bible or the Quran, prayer goes with fasting. not feasting. I think they missed the spelling. Prayer goes with fasting, not feasting. So I saw people in a 5-star hotel taking a five-course meal, eating gluttonously and saying they are praying for us. And us for whom we're being prayed for were not invited. I mean, every other poor person, Madara is just across the road. The people who had been left homeless are watching that they can't fix a meal. And the people who put them in that problem are they are eating a 5-course meal in a 5-star hotel. That was a big mistake. So that national prayer breakfast should not have happened in the shape and form it happened. During campaigns, these people are going to churches and kneeling before bishops to be prayed for. You mean our parliament could not have fit in one of those churches, but they've already disparaged some of the bishops. Bishop Margaret Wanjiru had turned her church into a UDA headquarters, even branded the altar. I think some of these prayers would have been done in some of these places. And it is true, because they are all there. The photos are there. You can see she had branded her altar with all those things. So there has to be a way in which we have to say that it is wrong for you to spend millions of taxpayers' money eating and dining and laughing at Kenyans who are poor and impoverished in the name of prayer breakfast. And then now you decide, okay, Silvanos Osoro is going to lead praise and worship. Adan Duale is going to read the Quran for us. And Kenyans are looking and saying, wait a minute, what is happening to this country? But now, worst of all, we take that podium. And just after prayers, we look at Kenyans in the face and we tell them, my friends gave me money for this jet and it cost 10 million. And the question I ask is, forget even the legal bit, because the law does not allow for someone to receive a gift of more than 20,000 in declare. Now, I like speaking as a Kenyan, not even as a lawyer sometimes. And as a Kenyan, I ask, where were these friends when we could not pay for school feeding program? Where were these friends when where were these friends when we were being taxed for affordable housing? They would have given money. Where were these friends when there was floods and we needed money to host our people? Where were these friends when we had absolutely no money to pay our doctors? Where were these friends when we had no money for capitation for schools? But we have them. Kufaya kwa dhiki ndio rafiki. But now when you have Faraja and you are going to the US, suddenly these friends appear and they have 10 million to give you. I think those are the wrong friends that Kenya does not meet, and we need to know what their names are so that we declare them public enemies. Friends of this country are people who should have given us money for school feeding. They should have given us money for doctors when doctors were on strike and our people were dying in hospitals. And people just think it's a doctor's strike. We lost so many Kenyans during that period. You come, you can't get attention, and you die. So where were these friends?
We should dictate what our friends give us.
No, what you are saying is we don't need such friends.
If somebody...
the kind of friend who buys you a beer on Friday but cannot buy you a packet of unga?
You've been told it's
lose that friend.
But it's the government of the UAE. Are you saying that the government of the UAE has not donated anything to this country?
Whoever that friend is, they have become the kind of friend who will buy you 5 beers but cannot give you a packet of rice to take home to your wife and children.
They have donated other things in other causes in this country.
Which ones? I have always asked Kenyans.
So you just go and find out.
No. I have always asked Kenyans. And because now it's on the backdrop of that trip. I have seen roads you can say, this has a Chinese name to it. I have seen so many pieces of infrastructure that have a Chinese name to it. Our good friends, the Americans, the one thing I have seen is feeding of refugees. Kenyans are yet to see a road, and the 481 kilometers was promised to Kibaki anyway. It was promised to Uhuru anyway, has been promised to. This trip was about Haiti, and once we are done with Haiti,
Kenyans are yet to see a road?
Yeah?
Kenyans are yet to see a road donated by America?
Yes.
But there is an HIV and AIDS program which the US has funded in excess of $8 billion US.
And it's ongoing.
As we speak. And it's not just for HIV, it's also for what?
Blood
Malaria.
donation.
Yes. In opportunistic diseases, meaning it is a donation that takes care of any aspect of healthcare. And they give it to date.
My friend, I am deeply worried about countries that are more concerned about our health than anything else. Because we have seen...
You are saying that's...
There's a reason why I'm saying this. And I want you to
tell us
understand.
about... Don't think about doctors on strike.
Yes.
Doctors on strike is about our health.
Fund our doctors. Don't give us your vaccines and your medicine. Help us be able to generate our own. There's a reason why I'm saying this. You've seen the campaigns that the Catholic bishops have been having against certain drugs in this country.
Vaccine
and vaccines especially for girls, and what that has meant for this country. we appreciate the fact that they are helping us in combating HIV and AIDS. But if you ask us as a country, we would tell you that some of the things you give us today, later once research is done, we regret using them. You have seen what has been presented. You've seen what has been presented to the president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, about the specific vaccines by our doctor here. Just need to remember his name. We go to the same church. And it's been
Dr.
quite
Wahome.
big. Dr. Wahome, precisely. And Museveni is saying, thank you for immunizing me against these people. So we are careful, and everything we get from the Americans, we take it with a pinch of salt. Because eventually we end up regretting having taken those things. Let them give us a road, we won't regret a road.
Like which one?
Anything goes into our body. Right now, you've seen they are trying to come up with digital birth certificates where something is injected into your body and then you don't need, you're doing told it's a paperless birth certificate. Why do you want to know where our children are, wherever they are roaming on the globe? Yes, it is.
My friend.
I'll get you.
Umeshuka uko kwa floor sasa yani.
Yes.
Umeamua now.
Okay.
So for us,
no.
we are careful.
No.
We are careful.
Even as you talk about being careful, be factual.
I am factual, and I'll share
if
that
you're
with
factual, If you're factual and say that research has shown, for instance, that the kind of support that the HIV program has received from the American government has led to X disaster or X negative impact, right? Any piece of research that is showing that, then you can say that let's be cautious. If any research you have shows that the government of the UAE has never donated anything towards any particular program in Kenya, not in disaster response, not in famine response, not in education, not in health, not in education, particularly in the northeastern counties. If you've got anything that shows there's nothing else that has come, it's only 10 million shillings for a jet, then you can say, wanakununulia pombe ulewe na hawezi kununulia chakula ushibe.
No, let's get it factually and truly. I mean, the government, and the president did not say it's the government of the UAE. He said it's his friends.
State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed released a statement.
But
stated
remember,
clearly,
the chief government spokesman insulted us on the same.
Immediately after the president went back to State House after the prayer breakfast, Hussein Mohammed released a statement and said it's the government of the UAE.
Hussein Mohammed, you've been a friend of the media for a long time. And if you're listening to me, let me tell you one thing. Please, can you try to put your house in order so that we get only one communication about something? We've had so many twists and turns about this trip. About first that it was cheaper, then it was cheaper than KQ, then it was given by friends, and then it was given by UAE, and then it was 10 million, it was not 200 million. Hussein Mohammed, you're a good friend of this country. The best thing should have been... No.
I'm being sincere.
It's leading towards the
Yes, exactly.
What they
Because
should have done
Yes.
is given only one communication, because by the time even the government spokesman was ranting and insulting Kenyans in such a bad tone, in fact, the way he spoke and he used...
how did the insult come in?
My friend, you need to check out that clip, because I don't even want to say some of the things he said on TV. My mouth, I usually make sure it's very clean. And sometimes
You're talking about Maura.
Yes, Maura. And he said, tunauliza maswali ya kipuzi. And I thought, when I pay my taxes, when I ask where my taxes are going, that's not a stupid question.
You're entitled to the question.
That is a valid question.
Okay.
And the people who pay Isaac Mwaura are we, the Kenyans. In fact, if we take away that message from his mouth, because we have put it there as Kenyans, he's the chief government spokesperson. But what he carries is the message, not the people. And
So-
he needs to know that we are the sovereign.
So he's saying that when we, his employer, are asking questions, we have a right to ask those questions, and he should not stop. He should stop telling us that they're nonsensical.
Can you imagine you telling your boss, your maswali unaniuliza ni ya kipuzi? Because we are his bosses, literally.
I can imagine, but I can also imagine the consequences.
Now, he knew there are no consequences with Kenyans and telling us things
But
like that.
Fanya Mambo, let me ask you this question. We've touched on very many issues here. And again, it is what we would like and what we would wish.
Yeah.
Are we saying that people who assist this country by virtue of the association they've had with the country for the longest time, that friendship is forced upon us, or is it a friendship that we have chosen?
I think we need to understand one thing. When you read the Constitution, I think 243, I need to confirm, it talks of what is national priorities. And one of the first things that is a national priority to Kenyans is the state security, and then they follow from there. I don't think a state visit to another country was a national priority.
Why?
And I don't think that would have been the best place to first put our money.
By the way, a state visit is you're invited. You don't invite yourself, eh? Just that you understand.
You are invited.
Yes.
You can
I agree.
decline.
You can decline.
I agree.
So you wanted us to decline.
Not decline. I mean, what had happened to Kenya Airways?
Sasa wewe ni nini?
Okay,
so-
bro. Okay, let me answer you.
It's
so that you're
it's
asking.
still doing 15 hours to that place.
Yes, it's doing, but let me answer you by asking a question. Do you know how many of our Dreamliners were actually operational at the time the president was supposed to travel? Do you know whether the Kenya Airways fleet, as we know it, was able to even meet, yes, its regular demands, as opposed to putting one plane specifically for the purpose of taking the president to America? I am asking you this question because to answer it, you need to ask yourself why KQ may not have been the first choice.
I have an answer. Then we fire Kipchumba Murkomen. He's the Minister for Transport. And if he can't make KQ work, he should resign. It's that simple. I mean, I have not seen other countries.
KQ has been having problems
My-
long before Kipchumba Murkomen became Minister for Transport.
yes.
In fact, the problems were worse before Kipchumba Murkomen became Minister for Transport. And
Are you saying because he didn't fly KQ, then he should not have gone to America?
I am saying
Because I'm hearing
that
you-
there are many other
I'm hearing
presidents who've done visits to other countries by not hiring foreign jets.
I'm hearing you saying that this
There
was
was
not this was not the right time to do a state visit.
I'm sure even
Or he could have
Tanzania,
used
I mean-
a cheaper option. What?
I'm sure even our neighbors Tanzania would have been happy to lease us a jet anyway. This is calculations I have done for people. I have always said this.
Funny
A
number.
Boeing 737.
No,
Let's
let me
just
ask
get to
you.
the
So,
figures.
Because I heard you say that this was not the right time to do the state visit. Are you saying that it was the visit itself was a problem, or is it the mode? What is the issue?
The cost was the problem.
The cost, the 10 million.
No, it was taxpayers' money.
Yeah, the 10 million taxpayers money.